back to session 2 of the Arlington Big Wave Copper Porphyry Extravaganza. Surf shirts and sunglasses are optional. If you've just joined in North America, especially in Vancouver, I'm aware it's very early for you. So we've already had session 1. This is the second part of the Arlington Big Wave Copper session. The first question I have for you is, why are we here? Why are we looking for porphyry copper mines? We think that there's 3 important reasons. One is ESG and decarbonization. The second is electrification, just ask Elon Musk. And the third is scale. If you're a big mining company and you want to get into a new business, copper is as large as it gets alongside iron ore. Before we get into those reasons and the explanation of why we're here today, I'd like to just first come up with some thank yous. Firstly, our attendees. When we started the idea of having a Big Wave Copper Porphyry Day a couple of months ago, we thought there'd be a few dozen of our arcane geological friends talking about porphyries around the microphone. In fact, we've got over 600 registrants today, blew through our 500-person Zoom budget. So thank you for all the attendees. Thank you to the panelists who've given us their time willingly from all kinds of time zones. Here in the UK, we've got Professor Jamie Wilkinson from the National History Museum. Earlier today, we also had Greg Corbett, a renowned porphyry expert in Australia. He's in bed now. We have panelists this afternoon. Thank you to Claudia Tornquist, who's up nice and early in Vancouver from Kodiak. And in the Ecuador camp, we have our friend Merlimar Johnson representing Salazar, and we have Dan Earle on the line from Solaris, who of course got the new Windsor discovery. Going back to why we're here, why copper? We don't know of any major mining companies that want to get into new coal mines. They all seem to want to get into copper. And in fact, if we look at the companies who registered for our webinar today, we would say that actually it's unusual if a major mining company has not registered for this webinar, which shows us that porphyry copper is exactly the place that the major mining companies are looking to spend their time and money. Tesla makes a lot of noise about nickel and lithium, but if you look at the scale of the opportunity in minerals, there is only 2 significant minerals, and that is iron ore and copper, which are both around about $150 billion businesses. Nickel, by comparison, is less than a $50 billion business at today's metal prices. So where does copper come from? Well, overwhelmingly, it comes from the Andes, a range of mountains in Latin America. Chile and Peru between them have about 8,000 tons of annual production in a 20,000 ton market. And that makes them more important than the next 8th largest copper producers combined, which includes Australia and Canada, the US and China, Congo, Zambia, and Russia and Mexico. We're going to hear from some Ecuadorian and 1 Canadian copper porphyry wave rider today. Solaris Windsor, Dan Earle is looking after a discovery which was made by the late great David Lowell. David Lowell was famous for finding Escondida, the world's largest copper mine run by BHP and Rio Tinto today. He also, some 40 years ago, I believe, found Warintza, and recently Dan's going to tell us about the follow-up to the 1,000 meters at 0.7% copper, which Solaris drilled quite recently. Tech Kaminko is a recent shareholder of Kodiak Copper. Claudia Tornquist is going to tell us about follow-up holes. I think we're looking for something around 500 meters deep to the 282 meter hole at 1.6% copper equivalent, which Kodiak recently announced that have sent their shares up some 1,000% in the last 2 months alone. Lots of wealth creation for shareholders if you can find out where the next discovery will be made, and that's partly what this Big Wave Copper event is about. The final company today that we're going to have in the afternoon session is Salazar Resources, Merlimar Johnson representing Salazar. In many ways, Freddie Salazar is the modern David Lowell. Freddie has half a dozen discoveries in which he's been involved in Ecuador under his belt, including the Fruta del Norte gold mine, which he took the Canadians Keith Barron and Patrick Anderson to in the early 2000s. That is today Lundin Gold's brand new mine in Ecuador, of course. Freddie also found the 300 million ton Gaby porphyry in Ecuador, And today he's advancing with their partner Adventus the 5% copper gold equivalent VMS. That's not a porphyry, Curipamba. And lastly, Merlin will tell us about the two projects that Salazar is drilling right now, one gold and one copper porphyry that they're currently exploring. A little bit of housekeeping. Can I remind people that we're not giving people investment advice? Arlington certainly does own shares in most of the companies presenting today, but we're not giving investment advice.